Just another night shift nurse tending to patients until an armed gunman stormed City General Hospital, revealing the secret behind her unshakable calm in crises. Welcome to Hidden Legends. Before we dive into this gripping tale of concealed medical prowess and heroic bravery, drop a comment below with the city you're watching from today. If you believe stories like this need to be shared, smash that subscribe button. Emily Carter punched in at City General Hospital at 10:47 p.m., as she had every Tuesday for the last 6 years. At 34, she was the ICU's most dependable night shift nurse, renowned for her steady hands, composed nature, and remarkable ability to manage emergencies that rattled her colleagues. Evening, Emily, Dr. Thompson called, wrapping up his day shift notes. Mrs. Wilson in 314 is stable, Mr. Lopez needs pain meds at midnight, and the new patient in 308 is under post-surgical observation. Understood, Emily replied, tying her shoulder-length brown hair into a ponytail and glancing at her badge. What Dr. Thompson didn't know was that Emily's steady hands and crisis instincts were forged over 8 years as an Army combat medic in Iraq and Afghanistan, where she performed surgeries in bombed-out structures and saved lives under hostile fire. Emily had left the military 4 years prior, swapping battlefield medicine for civilian nursing. She chose night shifts intentionally. Fewer people, fewer questions about why she could intubate a patient in 40 seconds or instinctively scanned every room for exits and threats. At 11:15 p.m., the third floor of City General Hospital was calm. Emily conducted her rounds, monitoring vitals, adjusting for drips, and ensuring her 8 patients were comfortable. Room 308 held a construction worker recovering from an emergency appendectomy. Room 312 housed an elderly woman with pneumonia. Room 314 was home to Mrs. Wilson, a diabetic in her 60s. Unlike her civilian peers, Emily noticed an unusual number of visitors in the lobby that evening. 3 men in dark clothing, arriving separately, each claiming to visit different patients, all carrying oversized backpacks. Her military instincts raised red flags, but she dismissed them. This was City General Hospital, not Fallujah. She was Nurse Emily Carter now, not Sergeant Emily Carter, 68W combat medic. At 11:43 p.m., everything shifted. The emergency system blared to life. Code Silver. Code Silver. All personnel shelter in place immediately. Code Silver meant an armed intruder. Emily's blood chilled, but her body snapped into trained precision. She moved swiftly to room 308, where Mr. Lopez, awake and alarmed by the noise, asked, "What's going on, nurse?" "Security protocol, sir. Stay quiet and away from the windows." Through the hallway window, Emily spotted 3 armed men advancing methodically through the main corridor. They weren't erratic shooters. Their movements were coordinated, checking rooms systematically. Professionals. Her civilian colleagues were in chaos. Lisa, a younger nurse, ran to Emily, tears streaming. "Emily, what do we do?" "Security's not responding." For a moment, Emily felt the familiar burden of responsibility from her combat days. 8 patients on this floor, plus staff, roughly 12 lives hinging on her decisions in the next few minutes. "Lisa, listen closely," Emily said, her voice carrying an authority that startled her colleague. "We'll secure each patient room, turn off the lights, and keep everyone silent." "Shouldn't we evacuate?" Lisa asked. "Not with armed men controlling the exits. We shelter and protect." Emily navigated the ICU with practiced efficiency, locking down each room, moving bedridden patients from windows, and organizing the 3 other nurses into a cohesive response. Her movements were sharp and deliberate, far from the gentle care typical of nursing. "Emily," whispered Dr. Khan, who'd been on call in the break room, "how do you know what to do?" Before she could respond, gunfire erupted from the floor below. "Everyone stay down," Emily ordered, her tone now that of a battlefield leader, not a nurse. More shots rang out. Emily's trained ear identified at least 2 handguns, possibly a rifle. The attackers were advancing floor by floor. Mrs. Wilson in 314 began clutching her chest, a stress-induced cardiac episode. Mr. Lopez's surgical site started bleeding due to elevated blood pressure. The elderly woman in 312 struggled to breathe. Dr. Kahn, Emily said calmly. Mrs. Wilson needs nitro and an EKG. I'll manage Mr. Lopez's bleeding and get Mrs. Lee on oxygen. Emily, we can't perform procedures during a... Emily met his gaze, her eyes revealing a depth he hadn't seen before. These patients will die from medical emergencies before the gunmen reach us if we don't act. I've handled trauma under fire before. Dr. Kahn stared. Under fire? Emily, you're a nurse. I was Combat Medic Sergeant Emily Carter, Army 68W, for 8 years before this. I've done surgery in collapsing buildings while mortars exploded outside. The revelation stunned the staff. Their quiet night shift nurse was a decorated combat veteran. Right now, Emily continued, checking Mrs. Wilson's pulse with the precision of someone who'd treated wounded soldiers. These patients need care, and this floor needs someone who can operate in a combat zone. Gunfire burst from the second floor, 1 level below. They're coming, Lisa whispered. Emily made a life-saving decision. Dr. Kahn, take Lisa and Sophia to the supply closet. Secure medications and prepare for potential casualties from other floors. What about you? I'm setting up a triage station and ensuring they don't reach our patients. Emily moved with military precision, positioning supply carts for cover, dimming all lights except emergency power, and establishing clear sight lines down the hallway. From the medical cart, she gathered items that seemed routine to civilians but tactical to her. Medical scissors to cut restraints, for tubes to bind hands, a portable oxygen tank that doubled as a defensive tool. The stairwell door creaked open. Emily stationed herself at the nurse's desk, hands steady, breathing controlled. 3 armed men emerged, wearing tactical vests and carrying assault rifles. Professional criminals, not random attackers. Where is everyone? One demanded in accented English. Hospitals evacuated, Emily replied evenly. I'm the only medical staff left for critical patients. You're lying. Room 308, post-surgical bleeding. Room 312, respiratory distress. Room 314, cardiac event. They can't be moved. The leader scrutinized her, searching for deceit. He saw only calm competence. Show us. Emily led them to room 308, where Mr. Lopez lay still, his bandage showing fresh blood from stress-related complications. He'll bleed out without immediate care, Emily said, checking his pulse with authority. As the lead gunman's guard lowered slightly, Emily acted. Her combat medic training included hand-to-hand combat, weapons disarming, and tactical medicine under threat. She'd learned to function when adrenaline and training were all that stood between life and death. She struck the first gunman's wrist with precise force, sending his weapon skidding. The second turned, but Emily used his momentum to shove him into the equipment cart. The third raised his rifle, but Dr. Kahn, emerging from the supply closet with a sedative-filled syringe, injected him in the neck with precision Emily had coached him on moments earlier. In 8 minutes, 3 armed intruders were subdued, and the ICU was secure. How? Dr. Kahn stared at Emily, awestruck. 8 years of combat training don't fade, Emily said, securing the unconscious attacker's restraints. But I haven't used those skills in 4 years. Why not? Emily glanced at her patients. Mr. Lopez's bleeding stabilized, Mrs. Wilson steady on cardiac meds, Mrs. Lee breathing comfortably with oxygen. Because I chose to save lives, not take them. Police sirens wailed as law enforcement arrived. Emily had already called 911, providing a tactical assessment of the neutralized threat. 3 hours later, after police interviews and medical checks, Emily sat in the break room. Her colleagues now saw her not just as a nurse, but as their savior. Emily, Lisa asked softly. Why didn't you tell us? Emily gazed at the city lights, recalling soldiers she'd treated in field hospitals, lives saved and lost, the weight of combat medicine. When I left the army, I vowed to use these hands to heal, not fight. Tonight was an exception. Dr. Khan joined them. The hospital administrator wants you in emergency trauma surgery. I'm a nurse, Emily replied. I chose nursing to care for people, not just repair them. In combat, you save someone so they can fight again. Here, you save them for their families. But your skills, my skills are always here when lives are on the line. But I'd rather use them to check vitals and adjust drips than stop cell phone wounds. A week later, Emily resumed her night shift. The story hit local news, but she declined interviews. City General Hospital offered her awards, promotions, and trauma unit transfers. She refused them all. Just Emily, night shift nurse, she told a persistent reporter. Some serve in uniform, others in scrubs. Both count. That Tuesday, at 10:47 p.m., Emily made her rounds, checking Mrs. Wilson's diabetes, Mr. Lopez's healing incision, and Mrs. Lee's improving breathing. Her hands were steady, her demeanor calm, her instincts razor ascertained sharp. Combat medic Sergeant Emily Carter was part of her, but Nurse Emily was her choice. Some warriors trade rifles for stethoscopes, serving differently but never ceasing to serve. This story comes from Hidden Legends. If you know someone whose service persists in unexpected ways, share their story in the comments and subscribe to honor those who protect others, in uniform or scrubs.